Have you ever pondered why people are leaving some American states and relocating elsewhere, causing a fall in population? Although it's simple to assume that people relocate in search of improved employment possibilities, these decisions frequently have considerably more underlying factors. Significant factors include environmental hazards, stagnant incomes, rising living expenses, and even access to healthcare and education. We'll explore the top 10 states that Americans are avoiding in this video, looking at the main causes of the trend and talking about the difficulties and the reasons why some individuals still live in these areas. See what happens at the end. Louisiana is number 10 on the list. Louisiana is well known for Mardi Gras, jazz music, and its rich cultural heritage. However, beneath its joyous exterior, the state is dealing with some grave problems. The reasons for the 0.6% population decline in Louisiana over the last 4 years are not difficult to identify. First, the oil and gas sector is a major contributor to the local economy. Every time oil prices decline, the economy suffers, resulting in instability and job losses. Because of this economic reliance, Louisiana is susceptible to changes in the market, which forces its citizens to seek employment in more stable states nearby. The educational system is another element. With only 76% of high school pupils graduating on time, Louisiana has one of the lowest educational rankings. This raises serious concerns for families, who may decide to relocate in order to provide their kids with better educational possibilities. In Louisiana, where a sizable portion of the population lacks health insurance, healthcare is also a big issue. Families struggling to make ends meet face additional stress due to the lack of affordable healthcare options. In addition to these difficulties, Louisiana experiences periodic flooding and storms, which makes recovery and reconstruction an ongoing battle for its citizens. Nevertheless, many people still decide to reside in Louisiana because of its thriving culture and sense of community, even in the face of these challenges. A sense of belonging that is difficult to obtain elsewhere is offered by the state's distinctive culinary culture, historic cities like New Orleans, and strong links to tradition. West Virginia is number 9. West Virginia, a state renowned for its breathtaking natural scenery and coal mining history, has seen a sharp decline in population over the last 10 years. Due in major part to the collapse of the coal industry, which was previously the state's main source of income, the population has dropped by about 3.5%. Many have been forced to leave in pursuit of more steady employment as job possibilities have decreased along with the need for coal. The state's population reduction is partly influenced by its rural landscape. With numerous small towns and localities dispersed widely apart, West Virginia is among the most remote states. For people who reside in the most isolated parts of the state, this remoteness makes it difficult to access services like healthcare and education. In search of better educational and employment prospects in larger cities, young people in particular are departing in significant numbers. With its beautiful mountains and outdoor pursuits like hiking and skiing drawing tourists, West Virginia has attempted to market tourism as a means of diversifying its economy. However, the loss of traditional industries cannot be compensated for only by tourism. High unemployment rates are another issue facing the state, particularly in regions that formerly relied heavily on coal. West Virginia has the greatest percentage of inhabitants over 65, which puts more burden on social services. As younger generations depart, the state's aging population makes these problems even worse. Although West Virginia is still a stunning state for nature lovers, many people find it difficult to live there due to its economic hardships and remote location. Illinois comes in at number 8. The population of Illinois, the state that is home to Chicago, one of the most famous cities in the United States, is gradually decreasing. The population of Illinois decreased by over 0.9% between 2020 and 2021. The state's heavy tax load is one of the primary causes. Illinois has a flat income tax of around 5% and one of the highest property tax rates in the nation. For many families, the costs of living in Illinois are greater than the advantages of remaining. The state's pension dilemma is another significant problem. Due to Illinois' enormous pension debt, funding for vital services like infrastructure, public safety, and education has had to be curtailed. Many citizens are forced to look for better opportunities in states with more stable economies and lower taxes as a result of these cuts, which make life more difficult for them while the state battles to balance its budget. Despite its long history as a center of industry, Illinois has had difficulty adjusting to the changing economic environment. Unemployment rates are still higher than the national average, and manufacturing jobs have decreased. On the other hand, Chicago attracts people who can afford the cost of living since it has a lot of cultural attractions, such as top-notch theaters, museums, and dining options. Some people choose to remain in Chicago because of the city's opportunities and metropolitan lifestyle. Many others, on the other hand, relocate to places where they can find more inexpensive homes and better employment opportunities due to the high cost of living and financial instability. New York comes in at number 7. Most likely, the iconic skyline of New York City or the busy streets of Manhattan come to mind when you think of New York. Nevertheless, between 2020 and 2021, New York's population decreased by roughly 1.8%, despite its widespread popularity. One of the main reasons individuals leave the state is the high expense of living. For example, Manhattan is one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in, with an average rent of almost $3,000 per month. Furthermore, depending on your salary, New York has some of the highest income tax rates in the nation, ranging from 4% to 10.9%. Many New Yorkers have chosen to relocate outside of the city in pursuit of more cheap living arrangements, especially in nearby states like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut, as remote work has become increasingly popular. The epidemic has sped up the trend of individuals relocating away from expensive urban locations, even if New York City continues to be a global powerhouse in sectors like technology, media, and finance. Some people no longer believe that the trade-off between high salaries and expensive living expenses is worthwhile, particularly in light of the fact that working remotely enables them to live anywhere and yet pursue their jobs. Nevertheless, New York continues to offer countless chances for both professional advancement and cultural encounters. The state provides an unparalleled lifestyle, complete with world-class art galleries and Broadway productions. However, many citizens are being forced to consider whether it is really worth it to remain in the Empire State as the cost of living keeps rising. Connecticut comes in at number 6. Located between New York and Massachusetts, Connecticut is renowned for its wealthy neighborhoods, charming little towns, and historic sites. Nonetheless, the population of the state has been gradually decreasing, dropping around 1.5% in recent years. Residents of Connecticut are struggling financially despite having one of the highest per capita incomes in the U.S. because of high taxes and a skyrocketing cost of living. The state's income tax ranges from 3% to almost 7%, and its property tax rate is among the highest in the nation. Due to these taxes and a high cost of real estate, Connecticut is becoming less appealing to retirees and new families. For instance, first-time purchasers may find the median price of a home in Connecticut, which is approximately $300,000. For inhabitants of Connecticut, the job market presents additional difficulties. Many of the state's industries have yet to fully recover from the 2008 financial crisis, despite the fact that its workforce is highly educated. Some inhabitants are leaving the state in search of better employment possibilities abroad, and unemployment rates are still somewhat high. Connecticut nonetheless provides a good standard of living in spite of these financial obstacles, particularly for those who can afford it. The state boasts stunning parks, top-notch schools, and easy access to big cities like Boston and New York. But for many, the high cost of living and taxes are enough to make them leave. Alaska is number 5. The population of Alaska, a state renowned for its untamed frontier character and breathtaking scenery, has decreased by almost 1.1%. The state's strong reliance on the oil industry is largely to blame for this. Alaska's economy is subject to fluctuations in oil prices. There are fewer job openings when oil prices are low, and many citizens are forced to leave the state in quest of more secure work. Aside from its unstable economy, Alaska also faces formidable geographical obstacles. The cost of living in the state is significantly greater than in other regions of the U.S. due to its extreme isolation from the rest of the nation. Due to the high cost of transportation, basic essentials like groceries and fuel are more expensive in Alaska. Despite not having a state income tax, Alaska depends significantly on oil earnings to pay for necessary services. However, state finances have decreased along with oil prices, which has resulted in reductions in public safety, healthcare, and education. Residents of Alaska have found living more challenging as a result of these restrictions, particularly in rural areas where access to services is already scarce. Alaska is still a distinctive and alluring travel destination for nature lovers in spite of these difficulties. From hiking and fishing to exploring its breathtaking national parks, the state has a plenty of adventure activities. Alaska offers a genuinely unique lifestyle for those who can withstand the isolation and economic uncertainty. Michigan is number 4. The U.S. auto industry was previously based in Michigan, a manufacturing powerhouse that has recently experienced severe economic difficulties. The population of the state decreased by almost 0.9% between 2020 and 2021. Michigan has been severely impacted by the loss of industrial employment, especially in the automotive industry. Many locals have been left without steady work when factories have shuttered or relocated abroad. High taxation and a declining middle class have contributed to Michigan's population decline in addition to job losses. Although Michigan does not have a high income tax rate in comparison to other states, the state has some of the highest property taxes in the nation, and inhabitants find it difficult to prosper due to a combination of financial strain and a lack of employment. The largest city in Michigan, Detroit, has been the focal point of this population decline. Detroit, a once thriving city, has suffered from decades of economic downturn, elevated crime rates, and deteriorating infrastructure. The population of Detroit really peaked in the 1950s and has been declining ever since, as many citizens have fled to the suburbs or left the state entirely. In Michigan, there are, nevertheless, signs of hope. Attempts have been made in recent years to bring digital companies, startups, and entrepreneurs to Detroit and other areas in an effort to revitalize them. People seeking a more tranquil, rural way of life are also drawn to Michigan's natural splendor, which includes an abundance of lakes and forests. Despite the state's severe economic problems, these programs may contribute to population stability in the years to come. Mississippi is number 3. Known for its rich history, southern charm, and strong sense of community, Mississippi is also one of the states most impacted by population reduction. Compared to other states on this list, Mississippi's population has decreased by about 0.5% over the last 10 years, which is still a noteworthy development for the state. The economic problems in Mississippi are a major contributing factor. Its median household income is significantly lower than the national average, making it one of the poorest states in the Union. Because there are few job options, particularly in rural areas, many locals look for work in nearby states. Nearly 20% of the state's population lives in poverty, which makes it challenging for many families to have a secure financial future. In Mississippi, problems with healthcare and education also persist. With some of the worst health outcomes in the nation and a high school graduation rate of just 85%, the state is near the bottom in both categories. Many locals lack insurance or have inadequate coverage, and access to high-quality healthcare is scarce, especially in rural areas. Mississippi maintains its strong sense of cultural pride in spite of these difficulties. It is a special place to reside because of its significance in the civil rights movement's history, its thriving music scene, and its strong sense of community. Mississippi offers a slower pace of life and a low cost of living for those who can manage it. However, the financial difficulties are too severe for a lot of other people to overlook. Ohio is number 2. In recent years, Ohio, which was once a major role in the American manufacturing sector, has seen a gradual fall in population. Many citizens have left the state in quest of better employment prospects, resulting in a 0.4% decline in population. Ohio has been severely impacted by the loss of industrial jobs, particularly in places like Cleveland and Toledo where plants have closed and unemployment rates are still high. Along with job losses, Ohio is also facing issues in healthcare and education. With public schools finding it difficult to give pupils enough resources, the state performs worse than the national average in both areas. Access to healthcare is restricted, especially in rural areas, and many locals lack insurance or have inadequate coverage. The lack of job diversification in Ohio is one of the primary causes of individuals leaving the state. Even though the state has worked to draw in other businesses like technology and healthcare, these sectors haven't expanded quickly enough to make up for the loss of manufacturing jobs. As a result, there is a brain drain, with many young people seeking better work possibilities in places like Texas or California. Ohio, however, still has a lot to offer. The cost of living in the state is comparatively inexpensive, and towns like Columbus are seeing growth in fields like education and technology. Ohio provides a high standard of living with reasonably priced housing, excellent schools, and a strong sense of community for those who can find steady work. The dearth of employment options, however, continues to be a deal-breaker for many, driving them to look for better possibilities elsewhere. California is first. The fact that California is at the top of this list may surprise some, given that it is one of the most populated states in the Union and a major center for innovation, technology, and entertainment worldwide. California's population has been declining, though, as the state has lost about 0.8% of its citizens in recent years. What is causing individuals to leave the Golden State? Then, one of the main causes is the high expense of living. With extremely high housing expenses, especially in areas like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego, California is routinely ranked as one of the most expensive states in the Union. Many households cannot afford California's typical home price of nearly $700,000. Additionally, rent is exorbitant. Even small flats can cost thousands of dollars a month. California has some of the highest taxes in the nation in addition to the cost of housing. From a tax standpoint, the state is among the most costly locations to reside, with income taxes that can exceed 13.3%. Even though earnings are generally greater in California, citizens find it challenging to save or invest because living expenses frequently exceed income. With Silicon Valley at the center of the tech sector and Los Angeles as the worldwide center of entertainment, California continues to lead the world in innovation despite these obstacles. California provides countless chances for outdoor recreation, cultural adventures, and professional advancement for those who can afford it. Nonetheless, the high cost of living and growing environmental hazards are sufficient to drive many locals to look for more stable and reasonably priced places to live.